Hey guys, I'm back from my hiatus. I thought that, you know what, I think doing my YouTube channel especially, I will be turning off the comment sections for my videos because I felt like that extra added bit of conversations with people when also doing YouTube uh, to provide important information to people. Felt that added like extra conversations with people in the comments section for my videos seemed kind of unnecessary and the root of my mental health issues. So I'm gonna stop the comment section for my videos, see how that goes. Of course, still have my Twitter and all of that, so follow me on there to interact with me on there to talk about the weather more in depth with me. But my YouTube videos, you'll only be able to watch my YouTube videos and like and subscribe. That's the only limitation is that you won't be able to comment on my videos. So yeah, I'm back from my hiatus. I'm excited. This is going to be an exciting video, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. So let's get to it. All right, so first we're going to be looking at the National Hurricane Center's Wikipedia page on their website. We're looking at the National Hurricane Center's page, then we're going to go and look at tropical tidbits to show you the models for Tropical Depression 18 that's just formed. It literally just formed. Tropical Depression 18 is right now it's 35 mile per hour, 1,008 millibar tropical depression. It's moving west currently at 15 miles per hour. It's the first advisory and the first forecast cone for this system calls for it to become a hurricane by overnight Friday into Saturday, so only a couple days from now, pretty much. And then it's already forecast by the National Hurricane Center to become a major hurricane by early Monday afternoon. Conditions for this storm, though, are looking the best. I'm going to word the best of any tropical system so far this season to really rapidly intensify and even I do dare to say this, even has the best chance of any system so far this season to potentially even become a Category 5. We'll see if that happens, but yeah, again, of course, that's definitely not set in stone or anything, but of course, this system, again, I think it does have the best potential out of any of the systems we've already had this season to become a Category 5. The conditions, the atmosphere, the environment in the tropical Atlantic and the MDR around Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, all in this area, all around this area, especially as it gets towards the very western MDR, towards Lesser Antilles, those areas, the environment is very conducive for intensification. In fact, the National Hurricane Center says that once the low-level center and mid-level center align, that's when they really think that the rapid intensification of the system could begin. So again, seems like rapid intensification for this system, according to the National Hurricane Center right now, they're expecting it to be between, I would say, Saturday afternoon into Monday morning afternoon. So we'll see how that changes a bit with that time frame. It shouldn't change all too much, but that general time frame, it seems, looks like the system could rapidly intensify, or at least begin that period of rapid intensification. Looks like it'll become a tropical storm pretty soon. The next name on the list is Sam, so once it becomes a tropical storm, it will be named Sam. We're already to the S name of the normal naming list for the Atlantic hurricane season, so it is very possible, quite interestingly enough, especially coming off of last season, that we could, in fact, actually go into the newly approved auxiliary list approved by the World Meteorological Organization with a whole new set of 21 names. So that's going to be very interesting. We'll see at what point in time potentially we get to that point, to those names in that list. It could be honestly quite soon because, as well, real quick to mention, we have the second disturbance up in the north central Atlantic that was part of Odette that is now extratropical. It's a gale force non-tropical low pressure system, the remnants of Odette, is located more than 500 miles west-northwest of the westernmost Azores. And as this low is beginning to develop more of a concentrated shower activity and could become a subtropical or tropical cyclone as it moves slowly across marginally warm waters over the north central Atlantic Ocean during the next several days. But then, however, by the weekend, the system is expected to move south into an environment of strong upper-level winds. So by this weekend, its chances of development will sharply close, and they won't be able to develop into any kind of tropical system. So if it is able to develop into any kind of tropical system, it'd be between now and probably Saturday. Yeah. tropical tidbits. Let's go and check out what. Now it's Tropical Depression 18, still Invest 98L on Tropical Tidbits. But yeah, here's what Tropical Depression 18 looks like up to this point. See, it has very, very great, some pretty decent outflow, honestly, for this point especially. And then, of course, you can see all the convection is wrapping around in a circular motion around what is at least the low level circulation, low level center that is just formed with the system. And as it continues generally to the west and a bit to the northwest, as we get towards the weekend to early next week, it will start to curve more northwest to head towards, again, the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico area. Of course, it's still up in the air whether or not it will potentially directly impact the Lesser Antilles and even Puerto Rico. We will see. It's looking quite interesting. Here's the current model track guidance. You can see they really curve it northwest, and it really misses the Lesser Antilles and Puerto Rico, it seems, well to the north and east of the islands. Same thing with what is being shown by the GEFS ensemble model track guidance, though you can see some of them, a good few of them, have it going a bit farther to the south, strengthening a good bit, and hitting the northern Lesser Antilles Islands and continuing generally to that north and west direction. So that's interesting there. Here's the GEPS ensemble model track guidance. You can see it has a curve well out to sea, well to the north and east of the Lesser Antilles. Model track guidance, though, is very interesting. Well, again, very well goes with what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting currently for the system. Becomes a tropical storm within the next, I would say, 12 hours, honestly. At least the majority of the models, model intensity guidance, the majority of these models show that, in any case. Really intensifies, gets to Category 1 hurricane, Category 2 hurricane, even a few, even especially one gets it into Category 3 range. Major hurricane status, again, is forecast by the National Hurricane Center currently, and honestly, I would say it's honestly quite likely to occur. I think it will become at least a Category 3 hurricane in its lifetime, especially as it gets towards the very western MDR, main development region, and towards the Lesser Antilles, those areas. Now, actually, let's check if there's any aircraft recon. There's a NOAA training mission in progress. Well, I don't know if it's going to be going into any system. I don't think it is, but I'm sure eventually we will get that recon, those recon planes into Tropical Depression 18 in the coming days. So that will be very interesting to see. Now, we're going to look at the models, and we'll show you the GFS, European, Canadian, and then even the hurricane models, the HWRF and HMON models for Tropical Depression 18. Move this forward in time. You can see here's the precipitation associated with Tropical Depression 18. Move this forward in time. GFS really starts to strengthen it a lot as it heads towards the more central and western MDR. It really shows it curving more out to sea and being a fish storm. So that's interesting. Of course, nothing is really set in stone yet. We really don't know in general if it will go out to sea more or impact the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico more, and even potentially further in the line, maybe it could impact the East Coast. We'll see. That is a big question mark still. We have no clue. The European model, again, as well, really intensifies it and brings it much, much closer to the Lesser Antilles and Puerto Rico. So the European model is more on board generally with the potential of an impact to the Lesser Antilles and even potentially Puerto Rico, and then it curves more towards the north, and goes well off the East Coast. We'll see potentially if the model started to trend it a bit closer towards the East Coast within the next few days. You can see there's another tropical wave coming off of Africa behind Tropical Depression 18, and you can see it tries to form a bit in the MDR and then starts to kind of fall apart a bit as it gets towards the western MDR and heads more towards the Caribbean. Caribbean, apparently, towards the time frame, towards, again, around early October, it looks like the Caribbean will be in a pretty conducive environment, have a conducive environment for potentially this system, if it does happen to get into the Caribbean, start to intensify more in the Caribbean. So we'll have to watch that one a bit more, potentially, if the National Hurricane Center especially starts to tag it and monitor it, and once it really starts to form. So that's going to be very interesting to watch and track. So, of course, we're going to really be mainly watching Tropical Depression 18 for the most part moving forward. Here's the Canadian model. You can see the Canadian model intensifies it a bit, definitely not as much as the European or GFS model within that time frame, Jesus Christ. Canadian model is quite bullish with two tropical waves coming off one after the other, one behind the other there. And the Canadian model is definitely the furthest west of both the European and GFS models. It takes it the closest by far to the East Coast. Of course, in general, we don't really trust the Canadian model the most out of these three main models of accuracy of where potentially the tropical systems will go. But that is quite interesting. We'll take note of we got to take note of that still, and of course see if the models do start to trend a bit farther to the west, closer to the East Coast. So that's interesting, something to keep in mind. Yeah, so here's a HWF model for Tropical Depression 18. Move this forward in time, it really intensifies the storm as it continues to get into the west and northwest, and it gets down all the way into the 950s as it continues to get closer towards the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico. So that's really interesting. We really could be seeing a pretty big storm out of this in the coming days, and its rapid intensification could occur as soon as Saturday. Is what I'm thinking, and really taking away from what the National Hurricane Center's current first track forecast for the system is showing. The HMON model has something wrong with it, clearly. It's not really showing the system doing much of anything. That is odd, to say the least. Yeah. 2021 Atlantic hurricane season. As much as, by the way, a lot of the systems have been very, very short-lived, very weak, for the most part, outside of like Ida, Grace, and Larry. And then, of course, we had Henri and Nicholas that became Category 1 hurricanes. Because of all that, the ACE value is very, very low for the season at this point. It's at 79.9 units. It's only around 80 units, maybe a little above 80 units at this point. But, yeah, well, it's interesting. We'll have to see what happens. Yeah, I don't know whether or not by the end of the season if we'll end up getting ACE values in the end, at least even approaching above average ACE amounts, or even getting to above average ACE amounts, because of how short-lived all these systems have been in general. I mean, of course, we've had now 18 total depressions, now with Tropical Depression 18 officially forming just now. 17 named storms, 6 hurricanes, 3 major hurricanes. Yeah, those numbers are impressive, for sure. But if you really look into it, it's all the systems mainly, for the most part, have been pretty weak and short-lived. 158 total fatalities, so it's been a fairly deadly season thus far. Total damage, it's been quite a damaging season, $53.498 billion. Most of it going mainly and only to Ida, causing at least $50 billion in damage. 2021 is the 5th costliest Atlantic hurricane season on record, beating 2020 last year, with 2020's official damage total only at least $51.146 billion in damage. That's very interesting, to be honest. So again, yeah, we've had all the way down to the R name, and it looks like we'll be getting the S name fairly soon, Sam. And once we get Sam, we'll only have 3 more names to go through until we get to the end of the to the end of this original naming list. And that is interesting, to say the least. So we're going to have to watch this closely and see if we get to that newly approved auxiliary list approved by the WMO heading into October especially. So we shall see. Tropical Depression 18 just formed, 35 miles per hour, 1,008 millibars. We will continue to track this with you guys over the coming days into the weekend and early next week. This will be a very, very interesting system to track with you guys, see how far it intensifies, how much it intensifies, and what areas it could impact. We'll see. Will it go out to sea? Will it impact areas, the inland areas? Will it even impact the U.S. potentially later on into next week? We shall see. We will continue to track this with you guys for the near future at the least. So we'll see how long it lasts, see what happens with it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider liking the video down below, subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I'm back. I will continue to provide updates for you guys on the system moving forward each and every day. And through the time it becomes named, potentially even becomes a hurricane, major hurricane, we will track it all here for you guys. So again, please consider liking the video, subscribing to my channel for future updates on this storm. Especially if you even like this kind of content, please do consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Subscribe to my channel, especially if you like this kind of content. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.